What if two lives changed forever in the span of just a few heartbreaking moments? One relationship reaches a painful crossroads while another shocking collapse leaves everyone fearing the worst. Just when it seems emotions have reached their breaking point, an unexpected crisis sends shockwaves through everyone at Forrester Creations. And by the end of this story, one question will be impossible to ignore. Was this simply too much emotional pressure, or is something far more serious about to be revealed? Today's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful delivers powerful emotions from beginning to end. One couple faces a devastating decision that could end their future together, while another family is forced to confront an alarming medical emergency. Long-hidden feelings, painful confrontations, and heartbreaking consequences all collide in an episode that leaves the future of several fan-favorite characters hanging in the balance. The day begins with Electra carrying a burden that has become impossible to ignore. For days, she's tried convincing herself that everything could somehow work out, that love would be enough to overcome the growing distance between her and Will. But every conversation, every awkward silence, and every uncomfortable moment has only made one thing clearer. Something has changed, and pretending otherwise isn't helping either of them. As difficult as it is to admit, Electra realizes she's no longer fighting for a relationship that feels mutual. Instead, she's fighting to preserve memories of what she hoped they could become. That painful realization weighs heavily on her heart as she prepares to make the hardest decision she's faced in a long time. She knows that once the words leave her mouth, nothing will ever be the same again. Meanwhile, Will has been living with his own complicated emotions. Although he's tried to keep the relationship moving forward, there are unmistakable signs that his heart isn't fully invested anymore. Conversations that once felt effortless have become forced. Moments that should bring happiness instead leave him feeling trapped between guilt and obligation. Rather than admit those feelings openly, Will has allowed the distance between them to grow. That silence has spoken louder than any argument ever could. When Electra finally asks to meet, Will senses immediately that something important is coming. The atmosphere feels unusually heavy. Neither of them can find the right words at first. Sometimes the hardest conversations begin with complete silence. Electra looks at him with sadness instead of anger. That's what makes the moment even more heartbreaking. She's not looking for someone to blame. She's simply accepting a painful truth. She quietly explains that relationships shouldn't require constant guessing about where each person stands. Love shouldn't feel like one person is carrying all the emotional weight while the other struggles to stay present. Every sentence becomes more difficult than the last. She admits that she still cares deeply about him. In many ways, that's exactly why she's making this decision. Continuing to hold on to something that's already slipping away will only hurt both of them even more. For a brief moment, Will seems caught completely off guard. Perhaps part of him expected another attempt to fix things or another promise that tomorrow would somehow be different. Instead, Electra calmly tells him she's letting go. The words land with enormous emotional weight. There's no dramatic shouting, no accusations, no betrayal, just the quiet heartbreak of two people accepting that their paths may no longer be heading in the same direction. Will struggles to respond. He knows she's right. Deep inside, he's felt this ending approaching for some time. Still, actually hearing the relationship come to an end forces him to confront emotions he hasn't wanted to acknowledge. Part of him feels guilty for allowing things to reach this point. Another part feels an unexpected sense of relief. That's what makes the situation so complicated. Relief isn't always a sign that someone never cared. Sometimes it's simply the realization that a difficult chapter has finally reached its conclusion after weeks of emotional uncertainty. Electra notices his hesitation. She doesn't need him to explain everything. His expression tells her more than words ever could. It confirms exactly what she feared. Their relationship has already ended emotionally. She's simply making it official. Walking away takes every ounce of strength she has. Even though she's the one making the decision, it doesn't make the pain any easier. Sometimes choosing your own heartbreak is still heartbreak. As Electra leaves, questions immediately begin surrounding what comes next. Will may now be free from a relationship that no longer felt right, but freedom doesn't erase regret, nor does it guarantee happiness. The emotional fallout from this breakup could affect both of them in ways neither expects. But that's only the beginning. Across town, another emotional storm has already reached its breaking point. Hope has been struggling to hold herself together after an incredibly painful confrontation with Brooke. Their relationship has always been complicated, filled with love, disappointment, and impossible expectations, yet this latest clash cuts even deeper than usual. Words spoken in anger have a way of lingering long after the conversation ends. Hope tries convincing herself that she's fine. She tells herself she simply needs a moment to breathe. She tells herself she'll recover. But inside, the emotional pressure continues building. The runway at Forrester Creations should represent excitement, creativity, and celebration. Instead, it becomes the setting for an unforgettable crisis. Hope attempts to remain composed despite everything she's feeling. She pushes forward because stopping isn't an option. Everyone around her is focused on the event unfolding before them. No one realizes just how overwhelmed she's become. Every painful memory from her confrontation with Brooke echoes through her mind. Every disappointment, every misunderstanding, every emotional wound that never fully healed. The pressure becomes overwhelming. Her breathing changes. Her vision begins to blur. She tries to steady herself. For one terrifying moment, it seems as though she'll regain control. Then everything changes. Hope suddenly collapses. The shocking moment instantly transforms the atmosphere. Conversations stop. Faces fill with panic. People rush toward her without fully understanding what has happened. Only seconds earlier, everything appeared normal. Now complete confusion takes over. No one knows whether this is simply exhaustion, overwhelming stress, or something far more serious. The uncertainty is almost as frightening as the collapse itself. News travels quickly. Before long, Liam learns what has happened. The moment he hears that Hope collapsed after her emotional confrontation with Brooke, his entire world seems to stop. Nothing else matters. Every disagreement, every complicated conversation, every unfinished chapter between them, it all disappears in an instant. His only concern is Hope. Without hesitation, Liam rushes to find out what's happened. As countless possibilities race through his mind, fear begins replacing logic. He wonders whether the emotional confrontation pushed Hope beyond her limits. He questions whether there were warning signs everyone missed. Most of all, he fears arriving too late. No one ever expects a normal day to become a medical emergency. That's exactly what makes moments like these so frightening. Meanwhile, Brooke is left facing emotions she never anticipated. Only a short time earlier, she'd been caught in an emotional confrontation with her daughter. Now Hope is unconscious. Whether or not their argument directly caused the collapse, Brooke can't escape the crushing guilt that immediately follows. Every parent knows the feeling of replaying painful conversations in their head, wishing they could take back words spoken in frustration. Brooke now finds herself trapped in exactly that nightmare. She wonders if she pushed Hope too far. She wonders if she failed to recognize how deeply her daughter was already hurting. Those questions may not have immediate answers, but they refuse to leave her mind. As everyone waits for updates about Hope's condition, tension spreads throughout those closest to her. Some believe stress alone can absolutely cause the body to reach a breaking point after intense emotional strain. Others worry there may be something else happening beneath the surface. Could this collapse simply be emotional exhaustion? Or has it revealed an underlying medical problem no one saw coming? The uncertainty becomes almost unbearable. Liam arrives desperate for information. Every second feels like an eternity. He searches every face hoping someone can offer reassurance. Instead, he finds the same frightened expressions reflecting his own fears. No one has answers yet. That silence speaks volumes. As Hope receives attention, everyone begins reflecting on how quickly life can change. One difficult conversation, one emotional moment, one unexpected collapse, everything changes in an instant. The day's events also force several characters to confront uncomfortable truths about the choices they've made. Electra finally accepted that holding onto a failing relationship wasn't healthy. Will must now decide whether relief outweighs regret. Brooke faces the painful possibility that emotional wounds sometimes leave consequences no one intends. And Liam is reminded that life's biggest priorities become crystal clear the moment someone you love is suddenly in danger. The emotional connections between these stories become impossible to ignore. Each character has reached a crossroads. Some are losing love. Others fear losing someone altogether. No one expected the day to unfold this way. Yet by the time the dust begins settling, everyone has been changed. The biggest question remains centered on hope. Was the confrontation with Brooke simply the final emotional push after days of overwhelming stress? The human body can react dramatically when emotional pressure becomes too intense. Heartbreak, anxiety, exhaustion, and emotional trauma sometimes combine in ways no one anticipates. But longtime viewers know the bold and the beautiful rarely delivers shocking moments without lasting consequences. That makes Hope's collapse especially concerning. If stress alone caused her to faint, recovery may only require time, rest, and emotional healing. If something more serious is responsible, however, today's frightening collapse could be only the beginning of an even larger storyline. Either way, those closest to Hope will never look at this day the same way again. Meanwhile, Electra's difficult decision may ultimately prove to be the healthiest choice she could make, even if it doesn't feel that way today. Sometimes walking away requires more courage than holding on. Whether Will eventually realizes what he's lost remains to be seen, but his reaction suggests he has plenty of soul-searching ahead. As one relationship quietly falls apart and another family fears the unthinkable, Monday's episode reminds us that emotions can change lives in an instant. Love, guilt, regret, and fear all collide in ways that leave every character questioning what comes next. And that final image of Hope collapsing after such an emotionally charged confrontation may become one of the most unforgettable moments of the week. If this truly was caused by stress, it reveals just how deeply everything has affected her. But if another shocking revelation is waiting around the corner, then today's crisis may only be setting the stage for an even bigger twist. What do you think is really behind Hope's collapse? Was it purely the emotional weight of her confrontation with Brooke, or do you believe something much more serious is about to be revealed? And did Electra make the right decision by ending things with Will, or will both of them eventually regret letting each other go? Share your predictions in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another The Bold and the Beautiful update.